People fought and died for our rights. People took up arms to fight for their freedom. Our ancestors did. They were all immigrants. They were worth fighting for. It's wonderful that we could take them for granted, but we can't take them for granted any longer because they're coming after us. They're coming after women. They're coming after anybody who's different, anybody who doesn't agree with Trump. He's said as much, that he wants to deport people, basically, because they're Democrats or far left liberals or Adam Schiff. President Obama was captured on video, on film, talking about that there was a basic notion of democracy. There were basic rules of the game, so to speak, rules in politics, rules among leadership.
It means that in a democracy, we all have to find a way to live alongside individuals and groups who are different than us. So we commit to a system of rules and habits that help us peacefully resolve our disputes. We try to cultivate those habits, those practices that encourage us not just to tolerate each other, but also every so often join together in collective action.
Less tolerance instead of more was what began to happen as the faces of people who were our leadership changed, as the constituents voted in more women and voted in more people of color. The face of leadership changed and the factions began to square off. These are not his words, they're mine. But when you are saying to law firms, I'm going to bar you from being able to practice, when you say arresting people off the street is okay and going after political appointments is okay, when you pull press credentials, listen, the checks and balances, even if they didn't agree with you, meant that you had to consider what you were doing in light of the fact that you were a servant, a public servant. The president works for us, not the other way around. This is commonly misunderstood. Somebody gets elected, they all of a sudden think that they are the king of it all, or they're the ruler of it all.
In fact, one way to think about the U.S. Constitution is as a rule book for practicing pluralism. So you get a Bill of Rights that allows us to think and speak and worship and assemble and vote on an equal basis, free from government coercion. And with that freedom, we can voice our beliefs and try to persuade others and form coalitions and compete for support and eventually elect representatives who will then go and negotiate and compromise and hopefully advance our interests. And majority rule determines who wins and who loses, but the separation of powers and an independent judiciary ensures that the winners don't overreach to try to permanently entrench themselves or violate minority rights. And just like a basketball game or a tennis match, we agree in advance that so long as the rules of the game are followed, the losers will accept the outcome of any given result, even if they still don't like the other side, knowing that they'll have another turn to try and come out on top the next time.
They serve at the pleasure of the people. And when we stand up en masse, non-violently, but clearly, and say, this is my country. You may not take it from me. You may not rule over me. You must abide by our laws. And we have judges who are appointed and elected to do just that, to operate according to the law. They've taken vows to do this. They've been sworn in to support the Constitution. And then we have a president who says he doesn't know if he has to support the Constitution. He's going to consult his lawyers.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me.
It is very corrupt, what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a president taking gifts, not for the American people, but for his own pocket. Now, I've seen a meme where it's Jimmy Carter saying they made me give up my peanut farm. And we did. We didn't want any conflicts of interest, because that conflict of interest, it's so tempting for people to come and take something or get something. When Pam Bondi says, well, he took that plane, but it wasn't in exchange for anything. Oh, yes, it was. Political favor, currying political goodwill. The president is always susceptible, and he is always on, and every action he takes, including phone calls or even tweets, is a matter of national security. But our president does not have a concept of that. Now, people are thinking, okay, she's just running against this guy. She doesn't like Trump. I don't like what they are doing with the power that they have. I'm not in favor of having a king rule over me by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not in favor of that ever. I don't want that in this country. I understand there are plenty of people in this country that do want that, as long as that king's name is Trump.
Trump has been talking right now about, he says he thinks he should be immune from the actions he takes while president.
Absolutely.
You think he should have total immunity?
Otherwise, everyone's going to jail.
You're fine with Trump as king?
Yes.
Trump as king is good.
Yep.
And that's about as American as you can get.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how they'd feel if that king was Obama or if it's Kamala. They're trying to bring the monarchy back, and they're lining up with dictators around the world to do it. You can do your own research. You'll find lots and lots and lots of evidence that it is. But I had somebody tell me the other day that the moon landing did not happen. It did. There's plenty of scientific research that proves that we did land on the moon. And the Earth does orbit around the sun. When you hear something that seems to challenge well-accepted scientific fact, go back and look for yourself instead of just going, oh yeah, I heard this. Because that's how rumors get started, right? So all you're doing is fancy gossip. It's a conspiracy theory, it's not a conspiracy. We did land on the moon. The Earth does revolve around the sun, and the Earth is round.
Our planet bulges at the equator by an extra 0.3% due to the way it rotates around its axis.
Ish, but it's certainly not flat. So if you have wondered if the time is now for you to raise your voice, it is. If you have wondered if the time is right for you to call your neighbor, call your friends, tell them, you're going to organize. You're going to make sure that people who are voting in a way that you don't want them to vote, that they have suitable opposition and that you support that opposition. You're going to find ways that you can do things without money. You're going to find ways to actually start movements where you are, and you're going to go out there and you're going to make things happen, because right now we still have that opportunity. We're calling on those who are free and brave to fight for our country, to fight for democracy, because now is the time. We won't be able to win every battle. We didn't win the big one. We didn't win the big one because there was misinformation. We cannot do things the way that we've always done them. We must be clear on our message. And our message is for American individual freedoms. Don't believe it when Trump says that he's going to be a president for everyone, because you already see the results. He's not doing what he promised. So whether you voted for him or not, fight for your freedoms, because it doesn't matter whether you voted for him or not. He's still not protecting your freedom. He's not protecting your rights. This is Behind the Curtain. I am Mo. Thank you for being here.